Hey everyone, welcome to this short video with SecPod. My name is Rob Kelsall, Vice President of Sales, and in this session we're going to be introducing you to SecPod's Cyber Hygiene platform, SanerNow. We'll introduce you to the unique concepts and value proposition before taking a look at the actual product itself in this short demonstration. Just before we get started, I wanted to introduce the concept of continuous vulnerability and exposure management. A lot of vendors in this space will talk about advanced vulnerability management solutions that they might have. Most of these tools are just going to assess and provide you with a report that tells you what you need to go and fix. There's a couple of unique things you're going to be excited to see with SecPod. First of all, we provide assessment, prioritization, and remediation in a single pane of glass. But then secondly, we combine the benefits of agentless discovery and assessment with agent-based continual assessment and remediation so that you can ensure you're up to date and that you're constantly improving your IT security risk posture.
Alright, so before we get into the demo, I want to bring this concept of every attack involves a weakness to the forefront of your mind, because for decades, the vulnerability management space has been talking about vulnerabilities in terms of CVE vulnerabilities. Organizations will scan and then pass a PDF report to their operations team and say, hey, go fix all of these CVEs that are critical. This approach has failed us. Attacks persist, organizations continue to have data breaches, and oftentimes those data breaches are caused by vulnerabilities which are a year or more old. Why is this the case? Well, it's because of this fundamental concept that weaknesses in a system go beyond CVE vulnerabilities, and many of those weaknesses may well be more likely to result in a cyber breach than the CVE vulnerability that's on the system as well. And this is where SecPod really differs. We're not just going to give you visibility of your CVE vulnerabilities, but we'll go beyond the tip of the iceberg. We'll show you misconfigurations, security best practices, compliance standards. We'll help you understand anomalies in your environment, help you understand the attack surface and reduce that attack surface, as well as identify missing patches within the system. Now, all of this data that we provide, all of these weaknesses, if you will, are provided in the world's largest library of security checks. If you haven't heard of SecPod before, it's because behind the scenes for over 10 years, we've actually been providing this library to about 20 or so other solutions in this space, powering those solutions to provide all of the various checks that they do. This is now available in a solution direct from SecPod with the SanerNow Cyber Hygiene platform. It's a SaaS-based solution. It's hosted in AWS. It's SOC 2 certified, so very secure. It is available on-premise if you prefer, but we offer the fastest time to value with our cloud-native infrastructure. The product benefits from the best of both worlds in terms of providing both agentless discovery and assessment, as well as agent-based continual assessment and remediation. And we support all of the major operating systems out there: Unix, Linux, Mac, Windows, of course, as well as obviously all of those devices across your IT environment that we can't necessarily put an agent on. So all of your network devices, your routers, switches, all of those things are going to be able to be discovered and assessed using the agentless scanning technology as well. And all of this gets normalized into the single platform for you to then get visibility, detect and prioritize weaknesses, and then go ahead and take action and remediate. Now let's jump into the solution and we'll show you how this looks. So here we are on the main dashboard, the device universe for this environment, if you will. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is how this platform out of the box is set up to support multiple sites if you're an enterprise customer, or multiple customer sites if you're an MSP. Right out of the box, as an MSP, you could just come in here and you could onboard new customers at the flick of a switch. It's as simple as that. If you're an enterprise customer, you might want to, as I have here, organize different sites by geography, for example. And then you can give different administrators access to different sites and, of course, different levels of access once they get in. For the remainder of the demo, I'm going to switch over to my US site and walk you through really how this solution is set up and some of the key advantages at a high level as compared to some other solutions you may have seen. We're going to keep things very high level. Of course, if you would like to deeper dive into any of the modules we touch on, just give us a shout and we'll be happy to set up a one-on-one demonstration. So, first things first, this is a cloud solution. So how did I get information about my US home office here into the solution? Well, the first thing you're going to be able to do is to install an agent in your environment. And that agent is not only going to assess itself, but it's also going to be able to be promoted as a scanner to then discover and assess other systems within your network. So if I pop over to agent deployment here, you can see the broad range of support we offer for operating systems across Windows, from Windows 7 up, Linux, lots of flavors here, such as Amazon, CentOS, Rocky Linux even, Debian, Alpine, macOS of course, and our latest edition, AIX over here. As I said, once the agent is installed, it will assess itself, but can then be promoted to a scanner. So we can see here in my US environment, my Mac here has been set up as a scanner. We can then give this scanner a configuration, which will tell it the IP range to discover the frequency we want to run this scan, and a policy. And then the policy is just going to show the types of vulnerabilities that we want to assess for within this environment, as well as the ability to provide a credential set. Okay, so back here on the dashboard now, we can see all of this information has been collated, whether it be assessed via the scanner using the agentless technology or through the agent itself using the continuous technology. The data is normalized and presented for us to then take action. Now, I would ask you to ask yourself the question, why do you patch, before we go any further with this demo? When I ask people this question, it depends on their role, but oftentimes operational people will say because they get told to patch by the security team, and they'll often get told to patch within 30 days for critical vulnerabilities. This is standard across the industry, but why? You're patching to prevent cyber attacks in your environment. And to help you understand how to more efficiently remediate your environment to prevent cyber attacks, we give you a very different view, taking into account all weaknesses that have been found in the system. And I want to show you the differences to this type of view as compared to a more traditional vulnerability assessment. So I'm going to start off by taking you to the Cyber Hygiene score here. I'll pop this out in a new tab. The Cyber Hygiene score here is comprised of various contributors such as missing patches, posture anomalies, prioritized risks, vulnerabilities of course, and any compliance standards or configurations that you've asked the system to assess for. Taking into account all factors, Cyber Hygiene score will be given. And I've got two test systems here, this Windows 10 system and this iMac, neither of which I'd particularly want to do my online banking on. But as you can see, based on the score, the Windows 10 system is more likely to result in a cyber attack. Why? Well, before I answer that question, let's take a look at how these systems would fare using just a vulnerability assessment. So I'll just take you to what I affectionately call a waffle menu here in the center, and we'll pop out the vulnerability management results on their own. And you can see here, we'll of course take a look at vulnerabilities based on criticality, exploitability, and the fidelity of the attack. Therefore, taking all of that into consideration, this iMac here, with the most critical vulnerabilities, most overall vulnerabilities, and the most high fidelity attacks, based on a vulnerability assessment alone, is more likely to result in a breach in your environment, if you will. That is not the case, however. If I go back here to the Cyber Hygiene score and we take a look at this Windows 10 system, in addition to the critical vulnerabilities it has, it also has a bunch of misconfigurations that I hope you wouldn't have in your environment. But by way of example, we did things like create a local admin account, we disabled password lockout policy, we disabled the local firewall, the AV engine is out of date. All of these things together, regardless of how many vulnerabilities this system has, are really going to make life easy for an attacker. All I need to do is brute force a local admin account, and I then have command and control and be able to propagate out onto the network from this system. So here, when we jump back now and we take a look at a prioritized set of information based on criticality of devices, the level of exploitation of the weakness that's been found, whether an attack would be automatable, and the total technical impact to clean up, we can start to funnel things down this risk funnel into categories so that we can remove the need for panic patching or a game of whack-a-mole, if you like, and you can start to drive your remediation from an IT risk-based approach. Let's pop this out here and take a look at some of the results. So we can see here, there's hundreds of things to do just in this small environment. You're going to have thousands in an enterprise environment. Where do we start? Well, 271 things. You might want to remediate these in your standard 30-day patch cycle. You can set rules to automatically patch these things if you want to with SecPod. But 31 things here, maybe for these items you want to create a change control in your ITSM platform. You want to assign these to the owners for those CIs and take action sooner rather than later, this week perhaps. And then these 7 things, you really don't want to sit and wait for an attack to occur using one of these weaknesses. These are things that you should act on immediately, today if possible, to prevent an imminent cyber attack from occurring on a potentially critical device. And in order to decide which bucket the weakness falls in, we will actually go through a decision tree. And just to give you an example here, you can see for this particular CVE, which is specified just as track, the exploitation is low, it's not automatable, partial technical impact. Even though it's on an essential device, it's highly unlikely to result in an attack in this environment. Going back here, however, if we want to look at some of the ACT category items, here we can see, yes, there are some vulnerabilities that are more likely to result in an attack, but more importantly, on our Windows 10 system here, you can see that this local admin account that has the account lockout threshold disabled, this is highly likely to result in an attack and should be remediated immediately. Of course, this can be fully customized for your own environment. So there's a risk assessment survey here. Depending on other factors within your environment, you're going to get different results in there. Okay, so that's really how we differ. I still see a lot of organizations today that are playing whack-a-mole or panic patching. With SecPod, you can take a step back and you can start to remediate in the most effective manner to reduce the chances of a cyber attack in your environment. Once you jump into the capabilities of the individual modules, you'll find there are 7 modules across the platform that work hand in hand, fully integrated, giving you visibility and the option to normalize your environment, detection of weaknesses, prioritization of those weaknesses based on the risk they pose to you, and you can then take action by remediating from our patch management library of over 400 applications, in addition to the operating system updates, and of course, for any compliance or configuration settings. Our endpoint management component also offers the ability to do things like deploy software, remove software, and even have remote control of systems. So you've got a fully fledged platform of components, modules if you will, that work hand in hand to better reduce the attack surface, to remediate weaknesses and ensure you're safe and secure. So just real quick to take you through these modules one by one. Again, we'll keep this at a very high level. If you would like some more detail, just give us a shout and we'll set up a one-on-one. So firstly, our asset exposure module is going to give you the ability to see hardware and software inventory in your environment. It will allow you to see unlicensed software that you might wish to remove, outdated applications or rarely used applications. The idea here being to allow you to reduce your attack surface. If you have an ITSM platform, this can of course be integrated into your CMDB. Next, we'll take you to the posture anomaly module. And in here, we'll automatically assess a baseline in your environment. We'll look for commonality between systems in terms of applications and services running, and where we find anomalous items, we'll recommend action be taken. So for example, you can see here we have some applications that are non-standard. You might want to block execution of those in our endpoint management module, or uninstall the application using a software deployment capability in that module too. Of course, you can leave this to understand your environment itself, or if you want to point it to a whitelisted system, if you will, or gold build, you can set that as your standard image and it will show you deviations from that image as well. We briefly touched on the vulnerability management module before. We'll revisit that here real quick. Like I said, whether a vulnerability has been assessed with the agent or with the scanner, all of that data is brought back here and normalized, and you'll be able to see those vulnerabilities based on criticality and any active exploits that you have. If you want to, if you found a critical vulnerability here that you wanted to take action on immediately, all you need to do is select and remediate, and that will allow you to approve the remediation package to go ahead, in this case to update Apple Mac OS 14 to 14.4.1. If you do find something that you want to create an exception for, maybe you don't want to deploy this update, you can of course set an exclude policy and give the policy a name and description and specify why you've accepted the risk for a number of days. This will then of course be shown in reports and you can add this back in at any time. In compliance management, we continue to give you the opportunity to understand weaknesses in your environment based on configurations. On the dashboard here, you can see that we've enabled the HIPAA template, and of course that Windows 10 system is not HIPAA compliant. If you want to create your own benchmark, you just go to the benchmarks tab here, create new benchmark, where you will have access to a library of controls to create your own template. For example, on Mac OS here, you can see various controls and configurations that we can assess for and or remediate. Or indeed, if you had a compliance standard in mind, such as NIST or PCI, you can just jump into the operating system here and you can see the various controls and configurations, along with not just the recommendation of what you need to do, but of course we can go ahead and remediate these for you as well, either as a one-time job or as a policy to automate the enforcement of these controls in your environment. Similarly, the patch management module is going to give you visibility of all of those vulnerabilities that have been found that do have a patch that can be used to remediate. You've got two options to deploy patches in the environment, either through missing patches, where you can select systems based on Active Directory group, custom group, you can even tag systems.
select the updates that you wish to apply, and click Apply Selected Patches. You give a name to the job. You can specify when you want this to take place, maybe at the weekend, for example, at 2 a.m. Specify the control for the reboot, end time, patching notification to an administrator as well as any user that's logged onto the system. You can even set pre and post scripts. But this test and deploy feature finally here is one that customers really enjoy. If you have a test group you want to deploy to and then offset the production deployment by a couple of days, that can be configured here so that you can test and deploy, and should you find an issue or compatibility issue, you can go in and stop the production deployment. Of course, if you do deploy patches and they support rollback, you just need to jump in here and you can revert deployed patches here as well. Now, you may not want to go in and do that every week for updates, so you might want to explore automating your patch and remediation capability. In here, you can see all of the applications that have been found in your environment, and you don't have to just turn on auto patching for everything. You can specify the operating system and or third-party updates, create an automation rule for critical, high, medium severity as you wish, and you can then specify when you want this automation to run. A lot of customers like to have a couple of different groups for their workstations. For example, workstation group A gets patched on the first and third week on a Monday at maybe 2 a.m. And then obviously you would set a group B automation for the second and fourth Monday. You do still have reboot control, you do still have the patch notification, and you can still add pre and post scripts to the job as well. So this will really help you save time so that your operational time spent previously on patching can now be spent on an elevated function, if you will, to improve your IT risk posture rather than just deploying patches. Finally, we'll just briefly touch on the endpoint management module. Here, much like the other modules, you have the concept of checks and actions, various things we can check for, such as, for example, you might want to check if AV is installed, and the action you would want to take is to install your chosen AV agent. The actions permissible are widespread. You can block applications from executing, tune up PCs, install software, uninstall software, modify processes, registry keys or services, the list goes on. Just as an example, under software deployment, you can see here any of the applications that we patch that have a redistributable are included out of the box. You can also upload your own packages. And if you find something you don't want to have installed, you can also set uninstall packages. You don't have to have the package in the inventory, you just need it to have been installed on a system. So for example, if in your environment you found, let's say, Roblox, and you might want to remove that, you could come in here and uninstall. Of course, you could also block the execution if you do find applications you don't want your users to run. So I hope you found this demonstration useful. We've stayed very high level across the modules here, taking you through the ability to understand your environment, understand its weaknesses, and prioritize your remediation plans so that you can quickly improve your IT risk posture. As I said, if you would like further details or a one-on-one demonstration or deep dive, just give us a shout and we'd be happy to set that up for you. Alright, so thank you very much for watching so far. Before I let you go, I just want to wrap up really with why SecPod, why SanerNow, how do we differ? Hopefully you've seen a lot of unique capabilities throughout the demonstration there, but really some of the key reasons why our customers choose SecPod over other solutions in this space include things like the ability to scan really fast. Of course, you don't want to have an impact in your environment. This is, of course, configurable, but with the combination of the agentless scanning
as well as the agent-based continual assessment, we really can get information to your fingertips in real time as quickly as possible. It also ensures a very accurate set of scan results. If you're just scanning a system without an agent, you could be doing without credentials, looking what the low-hanging fruit is from the outside in. You could be using credentials and remote executing code on systems which might give a higher degree of false positives or false negatives. Of course, with an agent, you're going to get accurate results and also automated results, not just for your assessment, but potentially for your remediation if you want to have that also. We of course offer a broad range of capabilities there. Typically, organizations are using at least 3, maybe 4 different solutions to achieve the set of results that you can do with the SanerNow platform. And then also, fastest time to value and ease of deployment with this solution is second to none. I didn't mention at the start of the demonstration, I'm not a sales engineer, I actually run sales here at SecPod, and before I joined, I was able, using a free trial, I was able to get the solution up and running, scanning my home office environment in under an hour with no training beforehand and without reading the documentation, of course. Super easy to get started and offers the fastest time to value of any solution in this space. And then don't take my word for it. Check out Gartner Peer Insights as an example. You'll find we have lots of very favourable reviews from enterprise customers that also talk about our ability to support customers. This is really important. Customers enjoy fast, reliable support, all included in the subscription. So again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've seen how SecPod differentiates from the solutions out there that just scan or the solutions that just fix, with our end-to-end assessment and prioritized remediation in a single pane of glass. Only with SecPod can you efficiently and effectively improve your IT risk posture at a lower cost of ownership versus the traditional tools. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this short demonstration useful. If you would like that one-on-one demo, don't hesitate to contact us. info@secpod.com is the email address you'll need to remember. Of course, if you would like to see the SanerNow Cyber Hygiene platform running in your own environment, you can of course get a free trial, www.secpod.com. Thanks very much for watching. We hope to see you real soon.